Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio today with co-host Jay Dash. Going to talk a little Steelers draft, go over the 8 picks they had in the draft. Was it 8?
Yeah, 8.
2 in the 6th round, that's right. Compensatory picks. Well, just to start it off, I want to say Mel Kiper gave the Steelers, Seattle, Washington, the Jets, and the Ravens an A grade, which I'm pretty sure they were all A minuses. I don't think anybody got the solid A, but we were the only franchises that got even a sniff of the A. The Steelers' first pick, 22 overall, was Bud Dupree, the outside linebacker from Kentucky. A lot of fans weren't too happy. They wanted a cornerback, safety. Landon Collins was still on the board. I like the pick. Bud Dupree is a good pass rusher. He can cover. Worlds had to cover a lot at that position that Dupree is going to be playing this year. The Steelers' philosophy is rush the passer to make the defensive backs better. The top 3 corners were off the board, and apparently they didn't value Landon Collins that high, so they went with the best player on their board, who was a top 15 pick in some people's draft.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. The corners were off the board. It was either going to be Trey Waynes, who went early, Marcus Peters, or Kevin Johnson, and all 3 were gone. So if they would have taken a corner, I'd have actually been upset.
Yeah, it would have been a reach if they'd taken a cornerback, and you don't want to reach. You can't risk wasting your first-round pick. We possibly did that with Jarvis Jones.
Well, that's 3 years in a row we took a linebacker in the first round, though. So
First team to ever do that.
This linebacker core better be good.
We should be starting 4 first-round picks at linebacker when we're on our base 3-4 defense.
Yeah, but how good's Jarvis Jones? We got to see about Bud Dupree, too, but I think he's going to be way better than Jarvis Jones, and I think he's a better player than Shazier, too, myself.
All Dupree's got to do is get 4 sacks, and he's already eclipsed Jones's career.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you want Jarvis Jones starting on the outside this year, though, correct?
Yeah, Jones on the outside, Dupree on the other side, and then Shazier and Timmons on the inside.
See, I don't mind Shazier and Timmons or Dupree. Maybe if he learns the system fast enough.
Well, it's going to be him or Moats.
Right, but I just don't trust Jones on the other side.
Well, Harrison will be filling in from time to time, so if
it
Jones
might be
struggles
a lot more
too
than
bad,
you think,
yeah, if he struggles too much, they'll put James Harrison in. They did it last year. Like I said, I like Dupree. He's a good athlete. He has great range. He had a 4.56 40. He's still raw in his pass rushing skills. He doesn't have a whole lot of skills there. His move was basically, I'm bigger and faster than you, so he could get around people. He already knows how to drop into coverage, like we already touched on. He did it about 25% of the time when he was in college. His size makes him able to cover the tight ends like the Rob Gronkowskis and the Jimmy Grahams in the middle of the field. He's going to be covering a lot more than what people realize. The Steelers' defense, just because it's a passing league, isn't going to run away from the 3-4.
Well, he missed rookie minicamp due to graduation. He has to graduate from Kentucky first.
Yeah, is it the age thing or is it because he wants to graduate? Because you have to be like literally more than 3 years removed from your graduating class of high school. So if it's not like the actual amount of days, you have to seriously wait until it is. Same thing happened with Santonio Holmes.
From what I'm looking at here, I think it's just he wants to graduate and then...
Whatever.
I mean, that's when the graduation was. You can't really change graduation.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I'd have let him done it too. He's a good character guy. That was one of the big things with Dupree. Everybody keeps saying the Steelers have all these studio gangsters in there, Mike Mitchell, and people don't like James Harrison. Well, here it is. Here's a good character guy, so people better not criticize him for saying he wants to go to his graduation.
And one of those guys, Kiper, McShay, Mayock, one of those 3 had Dupree as a top 10 pick. I think they had him going to the Falcons. So, I mean, the Steelers got a steal here.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Some scouts believe his instincts are a little below average, which leads to hesitation. But then I also read that people say he diagnoses play-action passing better than any other linebacker and, is quick to get back on the ball, whoever has it, running back or quarterback. So some of this stuff is a little misleading out there. From the little bit that I looked up on YouTube to watch, you don't get all the game film. You can't really break it down in slow motion. But to me, it looks like the guy has real good instincts. And even on the little things he may bite on, he has the speed and athleticism to make up for it. I'm going to come out and go out on a limb here and say the Steelers linebackers blow up this year. And I'm not talking in a bad way. I'm talking in a good way. Jarvis Jones, let's see. He's going to get it together. Third year, everybody talks about the Dick LeBeau defense. He wasn't really that healthy for his first 2 seasons, so you can't hate on him for that. But he does have to stay healthy in order to produce. But I see him all doing good. Shazier played well when he was in there last year. We all know Timmons is good. We don't really have to worry about that. So I'm going to say the Steelers at least lead the AFC in sacks this season coming up. Maybe the NFL.
I don't know about that, man.
That's my bold prediction.
I got to see it from Jones first. I'll tell you what, though. They better step up because we cannot be drafting a linebacker next year, too. We're done.
There's no more room.
You're cut off with the linebackers.
We don't run a 2-5.
Please believe, but one of these guys might get cut. Jarvis Jones is going to get cut if he sucks.
Yeah, if he doesn't play good this year, he's done. And we're going to have to bring Harrison back again.
Please believe, till he's 50.
Ooh. Our second round pick, 24th in the round, number 56 overall, was Senquez Golson, the cornerback from Mississippi. Golson's size is the biggest question mark at only 5'9", 176 pounds, so he will definitely need to put on a little bit of weight to play in the NFL. Some draft experts said that Golson was the best zone corner coverage in the draft, and any Steeler fan knows that the Steelers run a lot of zone coverage. Yes, the NFL is going to a passing league. Yes, all the fans are clamoring for more of man-to-man defense. It's not going to happen. It's not the way they do it. He was a highly productive corner. He had 31 passes defended and 16 interceptions in his career. A lot of people say he may not be any better than a nickel corner, but I'm a little more optimistic. His size is small, but Deshae Townsend was small, and not that he was some Hall of Fame corner, but he played really well in the Steelers' defense because he had good ball skills and he had good zone skills, and that's what it takes.
And he can tackle. I need someone that can tackle. But really, who'd we have here? Eric Rowe. We said they were going to take.
Yeah, Rowe.
And it would have been nice to have him, but he went a little bit earlier. We thought also maybe Quentin Rollins.
Yep.
But the Steelers valued Golson higher than Rollins, apparently, because Rollins was still on the board at that pick.
It was because of the tackling that you just touched on. The Steelers had great things to say about him, but they were all so happy about his tackling because, let's face it, our defensive backs couldn't tackle anybody last year. Even Troy Polamalu struggled with his tackling last year.
I remember when we were working on our 7-round mock for the Steelers, we had the first time you seen Golson in the 3rd round, you said, damn, this is a nice 3rd-round pick. I actually think he could go in the 2nd round. I don't know if you said that on air, but I remember when we were sitting downstairs, you were saying that. So, actually, you got that correct, too. He is a 2nd-round pick.
Mel Kiper and Mayock, is that the NFL guy?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't even
one
like
of the
those
other
guys.
guys on NFL.com, he's just a writer for them, I believe. They all said that if Golson was bigger, even just 6 foot, like 185 pounds, he would have been a top 15 pick. Some teams were afraid of his size, but the Steelers were willing to take a flyer on it, and hopefully it'll pan out. He has great ball skills. If we can get 5 interceptions out of this guy, it's better than what we had last year.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be tough for him to cover the number 1 wide receiver on a team like a Kelvin Johnson, the big guys in the league, because he is only 5'9". But from playing football myself, size does not matter as much as you think. Now, sometimes, like with the Kelvin Johnsons, who else is a big receiver right now?
I mean, even Andre Johnson's kind of big.
Yeah, he's
Jordy
getting over
Nelson's
that.
big and physical.
Jordy Nelson isn't tall, is he?
He's not real tall. He's just like, he's stocky, he's physical.
See,
he's
I
only
think
like 6 foot 6'2".
I think Golson could cover someone like a Jordy Nelson. It's the bigger guys that he might have a little trouble with, but I don't mind the 5'9" at all.
Nobody can cover Calvin Johnson, let's face it. How many 200-yard games does this guy have in his career?
Please believe.
I think it's a great pick at number 2. It addressed a need, and it was the best player available on their board. Pittsburgh thought this guy could go higher, possibly even late at end of the 1st round, so they really feel like they got huge value at this pick. Well, our number 3 pick, the 23rd in the round, 87 overall, was a surprise pick for me. Sammy Coates, the wide receiver from Auburn. Coates ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. He has good size at 6'1", 212 pounds. The only question mark is how natural are his hands. Coates dropped 19.1% of the passes thrown his way last season at Auburn.
Yeah, what it
That's
reminds
scary.
me of is Limas Swede. Although Limas was a 2nd-round pick.
Yes.
But the reason they did this is they seen something in him, first of all, obviously, or else
Right.
they wouldn't have taken him. But there was actually some early talk about him going in the 1st round, and they brought a lot of these 1st-round guys in, late 1st-round wide receivers, to see if maybe they would drop to the 2nd round. We thought they might take one if a good one fell. Well, this one fell to the third round. So if they seen something in him they liked, which there's a lot to like about him outside of his hands, I think it's a good pick if they can get him to not look like Lima Swede.
Dude's got mad speed. He's not the best route runner right now, but he's not really going to need to do that because his job will basically be Mike Wallace's job a few years back. Run downfield, stretch the defense out a little bit, make some room.
That was Martavis Bryant last season.
Yeah, but Bryant, they want him to step up and be more of a better route runner this year. So they want to use Coates in that deep role and have Bryant and Brown moving around in the middle of the field. It'll put a little less stress on Heath Miller. He'll be able to block a little better. And the Steelers' 5th-round pick, Jesse James, will be able to learn a little slower. I don't want to say slower, but a little easier behind Heath.
I was reading an article on ESPN today about Sammy Coates and Senquez Golston, how their speed looks better than what their 40s showed at the Combine.
Yeah, sometimes, dudes don't run great 40s, but when they put the pads on, they're better. And sometimes they run great 40s and put the pads on, they're slow as hell. So it really, their game film is what matters. And they actually shown, when we drafted Coates on NFL, it might have been ESPN, one of the highlights they showed of Sammy Coates was burning Senquez Golston for a deep touchdown.
I did see that.
That was pretty funny. Your 3rd-round pick toasting your 2nd-round pick.
But I do want to see Martavis Bryant step up this season, become a true number 2 receiver. And I'm not 100% sold on Wheaton. I think actually Sammy Coates, if he can start catching the ball a little bit more, he can actually overtake Wheaton. Although I don't hate Wheaton.
No, he's not
He's an
terrible.
excellent number 4, and he's a good number 3.
Yeah. If Wheaton was a little more agile, he'd be a better slot receiver. But he's got the skill set of an outside receiver, and he just so happens to be stuck behind 2 pretty damn good ones. Let's move along to our 4th-round pick, the 22nd pick in the round, 121 overall. Doran Grant, the cornerback from Ohio State. Grant's 5'10", 200 pounds. He was a 2014 first-team All-Big Ten. He had 2 big interceptions in Ohio State's Big Ten title game, and he played really good against the run against the Ducks in the national championship game. A lot of people say he's the best tackler in the draft.
Well, I heard best tackling corner in the draft.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's
I
what
was going to say, he's not the best tackler in the draft, but yes, this is why the Steelers liked him, and I think it's a good pick in the 4th round, is because I love cornerbacks that can tackle. I know the Steelers love cornerbacks that can tackle, and this is exactly what this guy's all about. Now, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but from what I'm hearing, he has a quick burst at least.
Yeah.
And he's just tough and physical, and in the 4th round, you're not going to find someone that looks like an all-pro, although he could turn into one. You never know.
Grant spent most of his time on the Buckeyes as the boundary corner, meaning he usually covered the opponent's top receivers. He became a starter in 2013 as a junior. He recorded 58 tackles, 2 for a loss, had 13 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. He earned himself all Big Ten honorable mentions. He improved his production even more as a senior in 2014, leading the national championship Buckeyes in passes defended 14, 63 tackles, and 5 picks. He did get first-team All-Big Ten honors. And man, in his last 2 seasons as a starter, he faced off against some of the top receivers coming out of this draft and prior drafts. Alabama's Amari Cooper, Clemson's Sammy Watkins. These 2 guys totaled 25 catches for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns. But those are literally the top 2 receivers, I believe, to come out of the last 2 drafts. And this guy's a 4th-round pick, and he at least kept them in check. Kinda.
Well, I don't expect either one of these corners to start immediately. It's going to be,
Golston will start in the slot, I think.
Well, the base 3-4 defense.
Correct.
It's going to be Willie Gay and Cortez Allen. Obviously, one of these guys are going to have to play some because they just don't have the corner depth outside of these 2. If not, it's at
B.W. Webb and
B.W.
Antoine
Webb.
Blake.
So one of these guys are going to have to step up and produce somewhat. But it's going to be Cortez Allen and Willie Gay to start, and I don't like those corners. Hopefully next year one of these guys can turn into the starter.
The Steelers have done well. Ike Taylor was a later-round pick. Deshae Townsend was a later-round pick.
You look how many first-round corners not just for the Steelers, for all teams, turn out to be bust. I mean, there's the Darrelle Revises of the world that aren't the bust, but 95% of these corners turn into busts. And look, the best corner in football was, what, a 5th-round pick?
And that's why the Steelers believe anybody with the athleticism to play the position can be taught to play the position. And I shouldn't say anybody. You know, anybody with a skill set for it coming out of college played it.
Well, he can tackle. That's the first step.
Believe it. Got to be able to tackle.
If you can't tackle, you shouldn't be on a football field. And the Steelers think that way too. If your corners can't tackle, you're going to get beat on the ground.
Yep, and they already gave up 4.4 yards per rush last year. They can't afford to give up anymore. Our 5th-round pick, we nailed it.
Please believe.
High five to us. All right. Jesse James, the tight end from Penn State. He was the 24th pick in the 5th round, 160th overall. This dude is a beast. He's 6'7", 261 pounds. Some people think he has average athleticism. He does need to refine his route running a little. He ran a 4.83 40 at the combine, but at his pro day, he was clocked at a 4.66 and a 4.71. So he's not going to burn you deep down the seam, but he might burn you off the bat right at the seam. You know, he's quick. He can move. He's good at getting open in space. And Ben Roethlisberger, he isn't the scrambler he used to be, but he does like to buy time, let his receivers find that open area. James is good at that. He's already a pretty good run blocker, so that helps him out right away. And he'll be able to learn a little bit behind Heath, learn with the tight ends coach, learn with this offense. And he could really turn into a starting tight end in a year or two.
Well, listen, at 6'7", he should be a decent red zone target if he can catch the ball. And from what I read, he makes some amazing catches, some amazing one-handed catches. So he definitely has the hands. And I'm hearing he works well down the seam as well.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing to me, like you already pointed out, is he finds the open space, especially when the play breaks down. Like when Roethlisberger breaks 2 tackles and rolls out of the pocket, this guy's good at finding the open space after the play breaks down, and that's perfect for Big Ben. And he could be the perfect tight end in the Steelers' offense, although not a dynamic tight end.
Yeah, everybody's clamoring for this big receiver we always needed to take to help Ben in the red zone. And don't get me wrong, Martavis Bryant is tall and he's good at going up to get the ball. But this could be the big red zone target that Ben's been missing since Plex left. 6'7", big hands. Like you said, he makes these highlight reel catches sometimes. Yeah, he may drop a couple of these easier passes early in his career. This is a 5th-round pick, guys. He's not Jimmy Graham right off the bat. A lot of guys come in. Yeah, a lot of guys come in late and do learn. So, yeah, he may never make a Pro Bowl, but he could be a Pro Bowl player as far as the Steelers' offense and what they ask from their tight end position. Because basically, if you block well and can get 50 to 60 catches and maybe 5 to 10 touchdowns, depending on the type of season, that's production enough out of our tight end position.
Yeah, I'm excited about Jesse James, and he has the coolest name ever.
Believe it. Bet you JK-47 loves him because he loves guns.
Please believe.
Well, our first pick in the 6th round, 23rd in the round, 199 overall. It was L.T. Walton, the defensive tackle from Central Michigan. Walton's another big guy at 6'5", 319 pounds. He has great size, so he'd be a good nose tackle in the Steelers' 3-4 scheme. He's a big guy. He flashes talent to penetrate the line. He's explosive off the ball. He's a good athlete for a big guy and an inside player with quick hands. His footwork needs a little bit of help. His upper body strength could use a little bit of help. He only had 25 bench reps at the combine. If I'm not mistaken, Jesse James had 26 bench reps at the combine. So when your tight end is benching more than your nose tackle, he does got guns. You might need to work on that a little bit. But I love this guy. At 6'5", people might wonder if he's too tall and the O-lineman can get under him and push up on his pads. But everybody's getting taller, man. Offensive and defensive linemen. They're all getting bigger. They're all getting stronger. If he keeps his legs bent, keeps his knees bent, and his waist moving, he'll be just fine.
Yeah, we're getting down to the point now where some of these guys aren't going to make the team. I expect these first 5 to definitely make the team, in my opinion.
They may all make the team, quite honestly.
They could all definitely make the team.
I'd rather have Walton than Cam Thomas if Walton doesn't completely suck.
Yeah, please believe.
Because Cam Thomas
I'd like to see him take a D tackle a little higher, though. Maybe one with a little more upside.
Yeah.
But, hey, they look at defensive tackle is a little different than some other teams, and maybe they see him as someone that can take up a couple blockers.
One of the ESPN guys called him the steal of the draft at that point in a round.
Well, that's perfect then. Because, I mean, up front, their biggest weakness is the
Depth.
Well, depth, obviously.
And the nose tackle
but
position.
yeah, the nose tackle, you'd like to see another Casey Hampton here at some point.
Yeah, because I'm big on
Although
Hayward.
I'm not going to put that on Walton.
Right, not yet anyway.
Yeah.
I'm big on Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt on the other side.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really, really good defensive ends.
Yeah, I like that too.
So if you can, and McCullers, don't forget about a late round pick in last year's draft, Daniel McCullers. He blocks out the sun when he stands up. So if he can start developing a little bit, yeah, McClendon's definitely going to be here for this one more year at least. I hope Walton does better. They cut Cam Thomas, and it goes McClendon, McCullers,
Well, if you want to
Walton.
look at it that way, I hope Cam Thomas turns into a Pro Bowler. Why not?
Well, I mean, yeah, but he's not gonna. He's garbage.
He's not gonna.
So I just hope Walton's good enough for them to warrant cutting Thomas, because Thomas was just terrible last year.
Yeah, that was a terrible signing. What'd they pay him, do you know?
Not a whole lot, but it was a
Yeah,
2-year
it could
deal,
be.
so it sucks. You're
Yeah,
stuck with it.
he's garbage.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He and Mike Mitchell were the worst players on the defense last season.
And, you pray that Mitchell did have a groin injury and he wasn't just crying like a little girl, and maybe he will play better this year.
I doubt it. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think I'm not high on Mitchell or Jarvis Jones right now.
Our other 6th-round pick was the 36th in the round, 212 overall, with Anthony Chickillo, the defensive end out of Miami. Chickillo is 6'3", 267 pounds. He does project to be an outside linebacker in the Steelers system, although he played edge rusher in college. He ran a 4.79 40 at the combine, so maybe losing 10 to 15 pounds might help him a little bit in his coverage and with speed and agility. He did move around the defensive line and played with consistency at most spots, but it's a little different in college with offensive running that spread offense. All defensive linemen have to be athletic, even your bigger guys. So you don't usually have these big, huge defensive linemen. He generates leverage at the point of attack. He has good strength for his size. He did good in his one-on-ones against right tackle TJ Clemmings from Pitt when he played them. But he's somebody whose instincts need to get a little better. He does need to get faster because he's not going to get big enough to play defensive end in our system. So he has to get a little less. He needs to lose a little weight and get a little faster. He won't be the greatest guy in pass coverage because he doesn't have great agility. This is somebody who projects to be more of a depth guy. He's a 6th-round pick. He'll be really good on special teams, I believe, to start off the year because he's another guy who's a really good tackler. So he can definitely make an impact there, even though there's not a whole lot of impact you can do with special teams anymore. But he'll be a situational pass rusher. He'll come in, spell some guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see him end up with 15 tackles and 3 sacks for the season, and they may come at big times.
Last season, he had 3 sacks and 4.5 tackles in 13 games, but reports have came out that he was playing all season with a torn meniscus.
Yeah, you're doing that, you're going to have no explosiveness off the line. So you get that better, you might be a little quicker. Maybe his 40 time will be a little better.
We'll have to see. The Steelers believe his production was down last season because of that injury. And look, it's just a late round flyer. We really don't necessarily need it. We need a little depth at the position maybe. But who knows? If it was because of the injury that his production was down and he can maybe produce for the Steelers, it could be a good pick. Who knows?
Like I said, if he's a standout on special teams and can be a good situational pass rusher, that's production out of a 6th-round pick, especially in their first year.
I wouldn't have minded them going offensive line at some point around here, though.
You know me, I'm not sold on our tackles, so I've been weary of that since even last season. I know Munchak's coached them up, but Beecham and Gilbert and Adams just don't do it for me. But the last pick the Steelers had, their 7th-round pick, 22nd in the round, 239 overall, was Gerard Holloman, the free safety out of Louisville. He's 6 foot, 218 pounds. He has good size for a free safety. He ran a 4.62 40. He's a tough player who's not afraid to hit somebody. He has good awareness and good vision. He's good in run support, and he sees the ball come out of the quarterback's hands. He makes the right move, but he doesn't have the greatest tackling skills. This is the one guy the Steelers took who really, really, really needs to work on his tackling. Out of anybody in this draft class, I could see him not making the team and them keeping Will Allen. He does have good ball skills for a one-year starter. He totaled 17 passes defended and 14 interceptions. He had an FBS leading 14 interceptions, tying an NCAA record set 46 years ago, and he took home the Thorpe Award as the nation's top defensive back over people like Landon Collins.
Right, so this guy produces. The one thing, like you said, though, he just can't tackle. And
can't
the
have
Steelers
that.
really need tacklers. That's the most important thing in football is you got to tackle the guy in front of you. So if he doesn't improve on that, he's not really going to be a factor on this team. But if he can improve on the tackling and not be like Mike Mitchell, then you might have yourself a good player here.
Maybe, and especially with the Steelers' free safety position, you need to be smart. You need to be athletic enough to run with guys deep, and then you kind of almost just, I don't want to say stand there, but you play center field basically, and you make sure nothing gets behind you. And if you have good ball skills and you're fast enough, if you learn that tackling, that he could become a great player at free safety for the Steelers. You don't have to be a huge impact player. You just have to be somebody who doesn't get beat a lot and who can come up with a big play, 3, maybe 4 times in the whole season.
Yeah, like I
We
was
never
saying,
had the greatest free safeties.
this guy looks like he could be the real deal if he could tackle. And the easiest thing to teach someone is tackling. You just gotta want to do it. You can't be scared.
Dude, he had 44 total tackles last year. Guess how many missed tackles he had?
44.
20 missed or broken tackles. That's a lot.
Yeah. That's Mike Mitchell all over again.
Yeah. So, obviously, he's not going to be a starter at a 7th-round pick from day one. And the one thing I want to mention is we talked about him possibly taking a safety early in this draft because we weren't sold on Shamarko. Well, it looks like the Steelers are either sold on Shamarko or Will Allen playing that strong safety position because they didn't take anybody that can step in from day one. They're probably going to roll with Shamarko, Mitchell, Allen, Gay.
That sounds horrible to me,
4 defensive
especially
backs.
unless you have like some super rush on both sides of the line coming from Dupree and Jones. And Jones looks horrible right now, so I don't know, man. You say the defense is going to take a step up this season. It's the same damn thing
We're younger,
in the back.
faster, and hungrier.
I don't know, man. We'll have to see. It's going to take a little while for Bud Dupree to learn. And
You got to hope and pray Cortez Allen figures it out. And that's really the chance they have at being a good defense. If he can figure it out, and I'm not saying he would be the best player or anything, but he can't completely suck.
Neither can these safeties. I mean, if you're looking at what Mitchell and Thomas did last season, if you get that same production out of them this season, obviously Thomas didn't do much because he wasn't on the field because he wasn't good enough to be on the field. But
Well,
you're going to get nothing from him.
Do you think they'll change the defensive philosophy a little bit, whereas so much revolved around Troy's position? Obviously, they're not going to put that much on Shamarko.
Yeah.
So they're going to be expecting a little bit more pass rush out of the linebackers. And, I want to note this real quick. I forgot to say this when talking about Senquez Golson and Doran Grant. They're both really good blitzers for defensive backs. Remember when Townsend, he used to kill it coming off the corner, and then we never quite had that corner who was fast enough. So these are somebody who can come in and help out a little bit, and that's a situational thing. It's not something you base your defense on. I'm not saying they're going to save the day, but it's something that can add between the defensive backs maybe 4 to 5 more sacks for the season. And if you get 5 to 10, then that would be amazing.
They're not going to lead the AFC North, like you say, in sacks. It's just
they're going to lead the whole AFC in sacks.
The whole AFC in
maybe
sacks.
the league. You'll see it. You heard it here first, folks.
So do you think they're going to be actually better than they were last season? Because I was not upset with how they played last season outside of the frickin' playoff game.
I think the Steelers' defense takes a step up. I do. It's not going to be a great step as far as anything like interception-wise. I think the pass rush will improve. I'm praying that Jarvis Jones improves. We all know the pass rush improves. The defensive backs will improve a little bit. All they got to do is rank better than 20th or something? If we can get in the top 15, if this defense stays in the top 15, we have a legit shot to make it to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Because with our offense, there's no reason to say we shouldn't.
I don't know. We need a playmaker on defense. Is it Bud Dupree or is it someone else? Someone got to be a playmaker. We don't have one right now.
It's Gerard Holloman.
Gerard Holloman.
Anthony
Harrison's
Chickalo.
going to be the playmaker till he's 50, man.
His legs are going to fall off. Well, that wraps it up. Thanks, Dash, for sitting in studio. Thank you, fans, for listening. Fans, you could follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You could follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. You can like us on Facebook. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. I know I've said this before, but we do have a legit website in the works now. It should be up within a month, so I'll be giving you a link to that also. Peace.
Says, mate.